Whoa. You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Whoa. You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music.
I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. The history of the United States is complicated and full of contradictions, with the greatest contradiction being the institution of slavery. While the founders professed a belief in liberty, enslaved Africans worked their fields and raised their monuments, building the nation's wealth without pay and on land they couldn't lay claim to. There have been calls for compensation to those who were enslaved and now their descendants. Most recently, a California task force submitted a reparations report to the state's lawmakers, which proposes cash payments and other support like home buyers assistance and free tuition for Black families. And Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush introduced a bill for compensation from the federal government. But how do you put a price tag on more than 150 years of continued and systemic injustice?
Welcome back, good people. Yeah, I just wanted to go, and I was actually just laying on the couch watching Netflix, and my wife got a phone call, so I went on YouTube and I saw this video. So I said, "Oh man, this is a whole story behind this 40 acres and a mule." Well, most Black people know the story, but a lot of people other than Black people don't know the story of the 40 acres and a mule. And here recently at the Super Bowl, Kendrick Lamar shedded a huge spotlight. Shedded, I don't know. He put a huge spotlight on 40 acres and a mule, and now people are talking about it. People are curious about it. So I said, let me just do a little video about it so people can get a basic understanding of 40 acres and a mule.
Our special correspondent Joey Chen traveled to Georgia to talk to researchers trying to do that math.
Here, where southern rivers meet the sea, is the scene of America's first broken promise to Black Americans: liberty and land. Why is land so important?
It's a way that we have control of family, control of our lives.
Historian and activist Amir Jamal Touré's family traces its ties to Georgia's Sea Islands and the Carolina Lowcountry all the way back to the early 1800s.
For at least 3 generations.
They weren't alone. Some 40,000 freedmen were allocated land in one of the last acts of the Civil War.
Special Field Order Number 15, better known as 40 acres and a mule.
Not just a platitude, but a promise. On General Sherman's march to the sea, as many as 10,000 newly liberated people followed the Union forces. So they're emancipated.
Yes.
But
where do we go? Where do we go?
Under pressure and facing skepticism from Washington about his own loyalties, Sherman called Black pastors to his Savannah headquarters. So what is this that we're seeing?
We're seeing the meeting.
Vonette Good Walker leads the Ralph Mark Gilbert Civil Rights Museum in Savannah, home of the only illustration of the meeting.
And this is Reverend Garrison.
He was their voice.
He was the voice. He was the spokesperson for all of them.
It was Reverend Garrison Frazier's reply to Sherman that set the stage for a groundbreaking order.
What do you want? What do you want from us? And he says, we want land and we want education.
The result, Special Field Order 15 reallocated land from Charleston, South Carolina down to Jacksonville and 30 miles inland, turning the property of rice plantation Confederates over to the newly emancipated, a directive which could have changed wealth distribution for generations.
It becomes our generational wealth of being able to pass something down to our children.
Instead, it became a promise broken. Sandy Darity and Kirsten Mullen study the history of and potential for restorative justice, beginning with those 40 acres. Draw that line for me to reparations conversations today. Are they really connected?
Oh, absolutely.
The couple's books outline a clear case for the nation's debt to Black America.
One of the key goals of a true reparations project would be the elimination of the racial wealth gap. And that figure at the moment is on the low end, $14 trillion.
A mind-bending sum, but the researchers point to billions. even trillions that Washington deems worth it for corporate bank bailouts, agricultural prices, COVID relief. By their accounting, an average of $850,000 paid to each family descended from enslaved Africans might only scratch the surface of the nation's true debt.
Yeah, so $850,000 is, they say that would only scratch the surface. And I believe that. I think it's well more than that. It's probably up there at like $3 million, when you add interest and a whole bunch of other things on top of it. So yeah, $850,000 is probably just scratching the surface, but I'm going to let them speak about it a little bit.
What does America as a society owe Black Americans?
Restitution.
Absolutely.
Yeah, restitution. And the capacity to be able to participate on an equal basis in this society.
We hand out checks today. Can they accomplish that?
Okay, so that question comes up a lot. If we just hand out checks today, can Black people accomplish that? That's not the point. That's not the point. Now, if you had someone come to your house and, you go to someone else's house and cut their grass for hundreds of years. Now, I mean, you, your family, your aunts, your grandparents, your grandparents' parents, for hundreds of years have been cutting this one particular yard every summer, doing the hedges, planting flowers, you name it, yard work, whatever it is. Now, when it comes down to it, one of these days, you're going to be looking like, you know what, we've been doing all this work for free and we ain't get nothing. But then all of a sudden you get handed a letter or whatever, and they tell you, we don't need your services anymore. Y'all go about your business. We never paid you a dime, so go about your business. You'll be wanting for as long as you live, and your children, that lineage, as it goes on, are going to be asking about the money. Where's the money at? It's drawing interest. So that's it. Whether we go out and buy 1,000 Cadillacs per family or what, that's none of their business. Cut the check. That's all we saying. Cut the check.
That can go a long way.
A whole lot. Yeah.
So could land. And what happened to those 40 acres for Black freedmen? Well, after Lincoln's death, his successor, Andrew Johnson, quickly rescinded the field order, reneging on the promise. If those 40 acres had stayed with those people who were supposed to get it,
we would have altered the entire dynamic of economic inequality by race in the United States.
And by reneging on the promise, I think that's a curse over the United States right now, this day. It's on the country. That's a huge promise to break.
Today.
Probably not. That's our speculation.
Instead, the debt grew with compounded interest from generations of other inequities. Back on land that could have been part of his family's legacy, the irony isn't lost on Jamal Touré.
We're not living with the trauma of America not facing up to it. If we had lived up to it, we wouldn't have to worry about it right now. But at some point, we're going to have to face up to it.
For many on these lands and beyond, America's debt is an invoice long overdue. In Savannah, I'm Joey Chen for Matter of Fact.
All right, so let me go to another video real quick. Y'all hold tight.
They brought him back. And I know it's that desire to farm, the quietness. It's a wonderful place to raise the children, and it still is. My father wouldn't have ever thought that I would come back here and do any farming. He wouldn't have thought anybody would come back, especially me. So you never know. You can't say, well, none of the children are going to come back, so, we might as well sell it. The same thing with even the old tractors. One of the tractors is 80 years old. Dad could have very easily said, well, I'm going to get rid of these tractors. Nobody's ever going to use them again. But here we are, farming with those same old tractors.
Veteran and retired teacher Mark Smith lives with his wife Janet on the land his family has owned since 1926. Mark's grandfather, a sharecropper, had traded his cotton harvest for these 600 acres during the height of the Jim Crow era.
This is my grandmother, and she and Papa right there. Those are the ones who bought this house, bought this property.
And this is your family. This is what came from that.
Right. These are the children and everybody that came from that. This is out in front of the house. This is Daddy, my mother, and all of the children. They were all very successful people. And I know where it comes from. It comes from this land. So, we do everything we can to protect that and hold on to it. Don't sell it, don't give it away, don't let anybody take it.
Land equals freedom in so many ways. Historically, land equaled freedom in the sense that there was physical space, a separation between Black people and people who oppressed them. And then being able to use your own expertise to produce resources for your family and be economically independent, that created freedom. People really don't understand the importance of the Black farmer in the African American experience. The Black churches were often on land that had been given by a Black farmer, or the Black schools were located on land that a Black farmer had provided.
So land is power.
Most definitely.
Because enslaved Africans could not own property, it wasn't until 1865 that Black Americans were able to formally request land from the government. But the opportunity only arose after a massacre of newly freed people at the hands of Union General Jefferson C. Davis during the Civil War.
Okay, I'm going to end it here, but I'm going to say this. I got two things to say. First of all, I think that Black people are once again on the verge of a huge breakthrough. And I think it was, it was bubbling for a while, but two things caused this to happen. One is Donald Trump being reelected. The second thing is Kendrick Lamar's super halftime show. That was powerful. Another thing is land. Land is powerful, y'all. I've been saying this for years, and I don't even have the land that I have land, but I don't have the land that I'm able to do all the things I want to do on yet. I got to say yet, because that's definitely coming. Now, you can do a lot of things with land, a lot of things. They gave some examples, and I'll give some more. Right now, thank God there's land in the family, so I'm able to make my own compost and grow with my land that I have. I can grow my own crops and whatnot, but there's so much power in just having your own land, y'all. So 40 acres and a mule, the 40 acres alone was just, if that promise was kept, Black people would not be where we are right now. But you also have to say if it was kept and not Black people not bothered with, or, I'll give an example of Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. These places, these Black Wall Streets that popped up after slavery and were destroyed. So you can't just say we get the land and then, just thrive and carry on. But no, because a lot of times people actually bought their own land after, the promise was broke. Black people bought their own land and somehow lost it, due to trickery and just deceit and just evil doing. Anyways, I wanted to show you guys this because a lot of people, it's a buzz out there right now. 40 acres of a mule, what's that? What's going on with that? A lot of people don't know, especially a lot of young people, even young Black people, don't even know what 40 acres and a mule means. Spike Lee has a movie production company called 40 Acres and a Mule. Shout out to Spike Lee. Man, I got to work with you, Spike. And Tyler Perry and Ryan Coogler and, all these Black producers and other writers and whatnot. Anyways, this is all I got for now. This is Anthony L. Kelly. Y'all check me out. Google, check out my books on Amazon, Anthony L. Kelly. Go to my website, writedisway.com. Anyways, tell me what you think about this too. Hit that like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time, y'all be blessed. I'm out.